So we're about a week away from the patch now with CA. They're going to be releasing the Emperor Edition on Tuesday. It's Sunday now, so like a week and a couple days. I'm still recovering from the wisdom teeth removal I had. All four impacted wisdom teeth got removed from my face. And I've been on Oxy for 4 days or so. I just switched over to a leave. That's helped a lot. I've been really nauseous and not been feeling very well. So finally getting over that. And I'm honestly really excited for this new patch. I think it's going to be really good for the game. Now, inevitably with a patch this big, and remember, it is still Creative Assembly, so there are probably going to be problems with this new patch. I'm sure that there's going to be gameplay issues that people really don't like at all. And it'll probably take 1 or 2 more patches after this one to actually fix everything that's wrong with it. Because just with a patch this big, there are going to be problems. One thing that is kind of making me scared is how long it can take to kill range units. One thing I've been seeing and hearing about is Slinger just not dying quickly when you get into melee combat with them with higher tier units. Hoplites, I've heard, are very strong. We'll see how it goes. I think that melee combat lasting longer is a really good thing. If it lasts too long, it can be a bad thing. So again, I haven't downloaded the patch 15 beta. We'll just see how everything goes. But I looked at the patch notes, and honestly, a lot of the changes seem like they'll be for the best. And really looking forward to the new campaign as well. We'll probably do a co-op or head-to-head campaign on it, either with 50 Bomb or Madness. Not sure yet. For the Sekigahara campaign on Shogun 2, me and Madness actually started it already. We haven't recorded anything. Basically what we were going to do was because the beginning is a little boring, so we decided to just cut out a lot of that and make it so that we kind of have a couple full stacks and kind of a bigger power base before we actually jump into recording sessions. So it'll be a faster head-to-head campaign, and in many ways I think it'll be more entertaining. But look forward to that sometime in the relatively near future. I am leaving on Thursday to go to a wedding in Denver, Colorado. I'm in Virginia right now, so that's 4 or 5 hours away. I'll be gone for 3 or 4 days, but that shouldn't impact the channel too much. Right now, this is just a 1v1 replay I had as Macedon versus Baktria on a really nice map on Amasea. I don't remember what the coordinates are. I'll try to find them. It's a really cool map. It reminds me of Shogun 2, honestly. One thing that I feel like Rome 2 lacks, at least on some maps, is just noticeable geography that really impacts the flow of the game. And on a map like this, where there are all these cliffs and hills and little patches of woods, it really makes things interesting. It makes you play differently. Now, we kind of avoided it this battle, which kind of sucks, because I really do think that it's a really cool map, and if you're fighting over this portion of the map, I think that's probably more tactically interesting. Instead, my opponent is going to move up into the red line and kind of keep his left flank covered. I actually had the cavalry advantage this battle, which is weird. You don't see that too often when you're bringing Macedon against Baktria. Of course, I think the best Macedonian builds always do have a large cavalry component. But Baktria didn't actually bring any cataphracts this game. He's only going to have the Bactrian Royal Cavalry, which I believe he has 4 of. I have 3 Aspis Companion Cav and 2 Companions and a Thessalian. So definitely a cavalry core on my side. And then I've got some regular Thorax Pikemen and some Hoplites and a couple of Light Peltas for the Elephants. And he's going to kind of set up shop in these woods for now and then quickly shift over into the open. Now he's got these Horse Archers up front, and these are going to be annoying. I obviously have to figure out a way to deal with them. Newer players, and I believe this player was new, but he actually had some really good ideas, and I think he played this battle pretty well, but he does make some mistakes. One thing he's going to do is he's going to leave his fire at will on, I believe, and he's going to leave his skirmish mode on, which means every time I run in range, they're automatically going to run away. The problem with what he's doing here, though, is that when he leaves skirmish mode on and he's next to the red line, they don't always run away in the correct fashion. So these guys are going to be slow to move away, and I'm going to catch them with my Aspis Companion Cav. And he's gotten like 5 or 6 kills on my cavalry so far, nothing special. But as soon as I catch him, of course, Aspis will shred Horse Archers in melee. So not going to be a difficult fight there. Going to do a decent amount of damage, but he pulled some of them out. But you can see over here, the skirmish mode didn't work for him. He basically ran into the red line and then stayed there. So I'm able to take out this horse archer unit as well. And again, I don't think horse archers, I've never been a big fan of them. They can be amazing, obviously, and with Baktria they're definitely a viable unit if you have the cavalry advantage, but he doesn't really. And then again, this red line is just going to be an issue for him because he keeps trying to pull away and they don't really do what he wants them to do. So my Aspis get into melee combat, it's a very easy fight for them. And he's going to pull away and take a lot of losses actually. So I do like how he moves his Bactrian Royal Cavalry over here. He thought he saw an opening to get to my Peltas. I quickly bring the Thorax Pikemen over to my left flank and protect them. Cannot be losing these Peltas. They're my only way to effectively deal with the Indian Armored Elephants, so gotta keep them well protected. And I actually have taken a decent amount of losses in my Cav. Like half of one Aspis Companion Cav is gone. So, I mean, he's taken way more losses, obviously. He had 4 Bactrian Horse Archers at the beginning, and now he only has 2.5, maybe? Something like that. 2.5, I think. And now we're going to take the Cav fight. So, one thing I'm going to do here that's definitely... You need to try to not do this. I'm going to activate Trample Charge on both my Companion Cav units. Now, the problem with that is that I'm going to end up wasting this Companion Cav charge and go directly into the back of my guys. Trample Charge is a big deal in shock Cav fights. You really want to try to save that if you can, and I didn't, so I'm going to basically end up wasting my Trample Charge. Now, I believe in other Total War games, Napoleon and others, you could actually kill your own men when you charge into the back of them. So, that would have been really bad if Rome 2 was like that. It's not like that, but I'm still going to waste the Trample, and it means that my charge is not quite as effective. I'm going to wrap the Thessalians behind and get a charge in from behind, so this Cav unit is totally dead. But he is going to wrap around again with this other Bactrian Royal Cavalry and try to get a hammer and anvil off. So, Trample Charge is worn off on this companion. I am going to see this Bactrian Royal Cav come, and I'm going to quickly turn around. But he's going to get the leg up in this melee fight because he was able to activate Trample in this fight, and I was not. So he's going to have the much better charge. And you can see that, wow, he destroyed me on the charge there. I lost about half the unit. And that's going to be kind of an issue. Now he's going to shift his elephants over and try to get into melee combat, and I'll talk about that in a second, but at the moment I have one more Aspis killing the rest of his horse archers, which really did not make a big impact on this game at all. They're only maybe 650 talents, so they're not super expensive, but again, you don't want to be wasting those if you can avoid it. They didn't do a whole lot. And now there's going to be a Cav fight and a little skirmish over on this side. Now it's going to be really annoying for me because I'm going to bring my light Peltas over, and of course they're slower than Indian Armored Elephants, so I can't reinforce quite as fast as I would have liked to. And I'm going to be a little slow getting over there. But these Indian Armored Elephants are going to wreck the Cav fight. And it's frustrating because like I've been owning these Cav fights for the most part, and I've taken off a lot of his cavalry off the field. But I try to pull away, and my guys are already exhausted, which was my fault because I was running them around the map. And as I try to pull away, all these fresh units are going to come in and prevent me from escaping. And when I bring my Peltas in, I don't have an angle to shoot at the elephants. I really wanted to move them like right here and just shoot at them, but the hill's going to be blocking my path. And that means that it's going to take even longer for my Peltas to get around and get line of sight on the elephants. And in the meantime, my Cav's getting shredded. The Indian Armored Elephants don't have a ton of kills yet, but they're about to be truly committed to the fight. And when that happens, it's going to be a big deal. You can see a couple Peltas getting shots off there, but still don't really have a good angle. And quickly had to shift my hoplites over to prevent this Bactrian Noble Horse from getting into my Peltas. Hoplites, of course, will crush that fight. Shouldn't be a problem for me. But now I try to pull away, and the Indian Armored Elephants are... I don't know why they're exhausted, actually. They've barely been moving. But they're still going to catch my shot cav, and the fear aura on them is just too potent. Like, Companion Cavalry, 71 base morale, 50 men still in the unit, 41 men left in this unit, and they both shattered at half strength, fighting one unit. They weren't even losing, really. Like, obviously, if I left them in melee for a while, they would have died, but they weren't even losing men at that point, so that was really frustrating. I lost a bunch of my cavalry for nothing, but finally I had my Peltas in a good position to shoot in. and get a bunch of kills on them. So yeah, obviously when you're able to tie them down and get Peltas shooting into them, they die really quickly, which is great, but 2 half-strength cav units with 70 base morale routing is kind of ridiculous to me. I don't know. They weren't even really taking losses at that point, so that sucked. And it's a problem because Baktria's infantry component is really not large. It's all about his skirmishing, and he doesn't really have to stand still and wait for me. He can kind of just dictate the pace of the game and run away. He has a bunch of jabs, which are going to be getting good shots off on my Thorax Swordsman and on my pikes. So this isn't going to be super easy. Now, one thing that is going to happen here is he's going to have his Levy Pikemen drop their pikes. And I'm going to win a pike fight for sure. I have the Thorax Pikemen, I have the better pikes. Shouldn't be a problem. But he has jabs shooting in on me, and they're doing a lot of damage. And I cannot go head on head with a Thorax Swordsman into the Levy Pikemen because I will lose that fight. So that's a problem, and I have to quickly flank around while I'm getting shot, so I'm just taking a lot of losses. I did manage to get around the flank with this Thorax Swordsman, and somehow or for some reason he dropped his pikes. I don't know what happened there, but he must have toggled them off, and so on this pike unit he's going to lose all of his pikes, and obviously Levy Pikemen will get shredded in melee with Thorax Swordsmen if they don't have their pikes out. Over on this side, I have my hoplites against the Eastern Spearman. It's not a really important fight. But I do have my Peltas shooting in on his flank. And I was able to destroy him in the pike fight here. As you can see, the Levy Pikeman in the center just kind of got driven back and murdered. So melee fight's going well for me, but I don't have a lot of cav left, and all these jabs are an issue for sure. So we're going to commit these Thorax Swordsmen. I did do a good job of getting them around the flank here. And he's not going to do a fantastic job of kiting with the jabs. Some of his units are going to get really good firing angles. Some of them he's just going to commit into melee. Like, I don't know what these guys are doing right here. I guess that's just a micro mistake. But I'm moving in now and killing off some of these jabs and killing off some of these Thorax Swordsmen. On this flank I had a Thorax Hoplite with the Thorax Swordsman, and he'll win that fight for sure. But my Peltas are getting good shots off. And I don't know, things are still looking a little scary here because he has Baktria Royal Cav at full strength. And this could have been a huge impact unit. Because he hasn't used Trample on them, or he just used Trample. He could have just been charging in and out, but I think he's going to get them caught out trying to get at the light Peltas here. And they're going to get caught up in the hoplites and just kind of die. So if he had microed this unit better, they could have made a huge impact on the battle. And instead, I'm just going to sacrifice one of my Peltas units, tie it down, get the hoplites in there, and cut him down. And he's going to just leave them in melee, and they're already routing now. So I already wrapped up the melee fight, and then that's just going to be a mass rout for him. So I don't think that his idea behind his army was bad at all. In fact, I think the army setup was quite good. I think that kind of map probably didn't lend itself super well to horse archers, just because there were so many little packets of trees and hills that made line of sight hard to find. And certainly where he positioned himself with the horse archers was not a good spot. If he was going to go to the red line, he had to turn skirmish mode off. And maybe he did, so it was either bad micro on his part or the fact that he had skirmish mode on and they weren't running to the red line. But either way, it made it easy for me to catch them, and that was a decent amount of talents, maybe 2,000 talents that went down the drain. And in, I want to say this was an 11.7k match, but maybe 14k match. That's a lot of talents. And they didn't really do anything, like 6 kills, 27 kills, 22 kills, 4 kills, like, definitely not worth their cost at all. His cavalry micro wasn't great. I like what he did with his jabs, though. I think that the Levy Pike line with the jabs is a really good combo. Maybe like 2 or 3 patches ago it was the meta. It was all about the Levy Pikemen and jabs. I do think that with Baktria, having weak infantry, maybe just Levy Pikes, like weak, cost-effective infantry, and then a lot of skirmish units, and cavalry is the way to go. I think maybe Cataphracts would have been a better choice there. But overall, just the fact that I had all that cavalry, the Astus really did change the course of that battle. They really helped me out a lot, taking care of those horse archers basically for free. And then of course my melee line was just much better. So on another map, where he had more room to maneuver and hadn't chosen to kind of consolidate his forces in the corner where he didn't really have room to maneuver. I think he could have done really well there. As it was, I think he played pretty well. Just, I think he did say he was a newer player, and he could have done some things better. But yeah, on like a flat map where he had more room to flank with the horse archers and get different angles of firing off, I think he could have done much better. But overall, I'd like to say good game to Vidal Sassoon. Thought he played pretty well, especially for a newer player. And I have a bunch of replays that I might get to before I leave for the wedding. I'm going to try to, because I actually do have a lot of 2v2 and 3v3 replays. I've been saving basically everything. But there's a good chance that I won't get to as many as I'd like to. And, of course, all those replays will go out the window as patch 15 rolls around. So here's to hoping that patch 15 is fantastic. I'm sure it'll do some good things for the game. I'm sure it'll do a couple bad things for the game. But we will wait and see with bated breath. And I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll talk to you all later. Indie Pride, signing out.